Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Risdayani from Class C English Education 2021. Well, I made this video for mid-semester statement from speaking course for academic purposes. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to speak English easily. I think everyone needs this, and it's very important, especially as a student majoring in English education. Well, this presentation will deal with three main points that are why you should learn English, barriers to speaking English, and the last one is solution. Well, now we move to the first point. The first point is why you should learn English. Well, language is communication. English is the most widely used language in international communication. At least that's what's happening right now. And why is English an international language? Why does it have to be English? There are several reasons why English is made an international language. Among other things, because English is one of the oldest languages in the world and it comes from the Britain, which is around the 8th century. As we know that English is everywhere on social media platforms, even songs that are now popular that are English. So even some jobs require you to master English. Moreover, we are prospective English teacher who will teach the student to learn English. Therefore, we must learn English well so that it is useful for us as well as for our students in the future. In learning any language, especially English, you must be willing to learn it from various aspects, including listening, writing, reading, and speaking. Unfortunately, there are people who are not confident in their ability to speak English. In fact, not a few prefer to be silent when forced to speak English, or at least speak as little as possible. Well, I have a question for you. You still call yourself unable to speak English. It may be necessary to correct this statement. Basically, everyone who has attended basic English lessons in elementary, middle, high school, and even college classes, or people who have never studied but know some vocabulary, you are said to be able to speak English. Unlike the case with people who cannot speak English at all, they have never learned or know any vocabulary. So, when spoken to, they don't understand at all. Well, the problem is those who have studied English since elementary school or junior high school and until now still can speak English fluently. Of course, it could be caused by barriers to learning English or other factors. Well, let's check out whether one of them is the reason for your English learning difficulties. These are some of the problems that are usually found in speaking English. The first one is not accustomed to speaking English. The second one is afraid of being wrong. The third one is lack of vocabulary. The fourth one is difficult to understand English, in text, and there are no partner or friends to practice your English. And the last one is difficult to pronounce because of different way of reading English. Well, is this your obstacle in speaking English? Everything really needs a process, but I have a solution for all of you to overcome these obstacles. Well, the first point is more confident. Yeah, if you want to be fluent in conversation in English, one of the things you might want to improve is self-confidence, especially when you do it. Never be afraid to make mistakes, let alone be afraid to feel embarrassed. Slightly different from the writing aspect where you have to be careful about grammar and writing. Speaking is not something that will make you feel complicated. This is because the rule of speaking in English is to understand what is meant by each other. This means that you don't have to use perfect grammar or have to complain about bad pronunciation if you want to successfully strike up a conversation in English with someone else. The second point is find an English learning friend. If you want to be successful in speaking English fluently, you should find a friend who is also learning to speak English. Yep. In addition to making you more excited, you will also be more fluent in conversation. The reason is you have an opponent to talk to during practice. Having someone to talk to can make you more trained because you and the other person won't know what each other wants to say. That way, like it or not, you have to be ready to answer every utterance spoken by the other person. This will certainly make you more creative in responding. The hope is that the more often you speak with a balanced interlocutor, the more fluent you will start a conversation in English. The next point is think in English. Well, to familiarize yourself with English concepts, one of the things you can do is get used to thinking in English. If you want to be fluent and familiar with English itself, try to think in English. Of course, you like to think or talk to yourself, right? Well, this time try to continue using English while doing it. This is one of the things that start many ways of speaking English fluently. Well, the last point is don't focus too much on grammar. Yeah, learning grammar might be very useful for aspect of writing, but not for speaking. In fact, native doesn't really bother grammar when speaking. As previously mentioned, as long as the other person understands what you mean, then the conversation is considered successful. Meanwhile, it would be useless if you could pronounce something with good grammar, but you seem to be numb when asked to speak English. So try to put grammar aside first when doing easy English fluency exercises. Finally, we are at the conclusion. To conclude that learning English does have a different approach. Therefore, make sure you to understand what you have to do when learning every aspect of using English. The tips that I have given might be your guide when you want to speak English fluently. Some problems in learning English may be a barrier for you to speak English. But remember, when there is a problem, there must be a solution. And don't forget, learn from the mistakes to be better, to be more better. So, I think that's enough for me. I hope you can understand what I have explained and can help you to improve your English. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.